An army of well-trained mercenaries against two Marines who know the lay of the land and how to work together. Whew, I feel sorry for those mercenaries.
Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing
The next 3 episodes of The Punisher on Netflix. Alright, so this comic book series has taken a very dark turn. In fact, I had to say in the last episode that I had to re-record this opening then because of the fact of how dark it went. And I'm going to stick with the fact that I'm not sure if it should be as dark as it is. And I'm not just saying the lighting problem that all of the Netflix shows have. Seriously, come on, can we please get a Moon Knight ice drag? Alright, so before we go into the specifics of this episode, if this is your first time here, what I'm doing is building a community where we can dissect and talk about stories. I review stories as they come up and do theory videos every Sunday night. If that sounds interesting, click the subscribe button. But right now, we're talking about Punisher. The newest version is on quite a heroic journey. Well, at least clawing himself out of a hole. In fact, one of the first episodes specifically gave a good little story. I want to say it was the first episode, but maybe it was the second. That said this whole thing about climbing out of a hole, and there's a Marine stuck in a hole. An NCO walks by and tells him, "Here's a shovel, dig deeper." Then a psychiatrist comes and throws him some pills and tells him, "Hey, these will make you forget about the hole." And it does for a while. But it's not until another Marine jumps in and says, "That's okay, buddy. I've been here before. I know how to get out." And that's really what makes Punisher the protagonist of this. He's obviously suffering from PTSD, not just from the stuff he did at the war, which is bad enough, but the loss of his family. Now, they've graded this up a bit. By changing the origin, by it not being a mob hit, by making it be government agents, we have this problem. And it's a problem we're going to run into very specifically in a little while when we get into the spoilers. Because you have to question, who's the good guy here? Who's the bad guy? Because there are other ways. And he's purposely ignoring those. But for now, let's throw this up and get into the spoiler section.
So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Ba-da-na-na.
Karen's back again, and this time she's being interviewed along with everyone else that knows Frank. And we also have some microchip stuff going on that's kind of interesting. His whole family has turned pretty much into a running gag, though. But let's dive right in to episode number 5, Gunner, named for the member of his team that he's going after this week. Well, this episode. Keep forgetting that binge watching, it's not a week in between episodes. So, whether or not Micro did the right thing is one of the first things they argue about, and is one of those things that is gonna come up because both Micro and Frank are friggin' boneheads, and they're stubborn. It's why they get along so well. They're stubborn, and they just don't get it. But alright, before we get too deep here, I want to talk about the end of the episode. And yeah, I realize that that's a weird place to start, the end of the episode. But along with the torture question, we now have the murder question. Because these are soldiers, and these are soldiers following orders, which, remember, was what Frank was back in Kandahar. So, does that mean that Frank's in the right or Frank's in the wrong? He's killing soldiers that are just doing their jobs. And remember, the question of, can't we just do this the legal way, keeps being brought up. Nope, gotta kill all the people responsible. But these soldiers aren't responsible. These soldiers, yes, are trying to shoot at you because they were ordered to, because they were told you were a threat. The same way you killed an innocent person because you were ordered to. So, of all people who should have some understanding that following orders isn't an option all the time, it's a mandatory thing, you would think Frank, with his history in Kandahar, would have a little more understanding. Now, of course, that's going to play up as the episode goes on, and we see the other two Marines that represent the, I'm going to find a new way, and no, I just like being pure on war kind of a black and white thing there, too. I wonder if they did that on purpose. But alright, this is also where we get Agent Madani's little relationship with the leader of Anvil. And I have to say, that was weird. I mean, I don't know. Did they only break her ribs in such a way so that they could cover her breasts so they didn't have nudity in the episode? Okay, well, the main push of the episode is Frank going to find Gunner and breaking the plans with Micro's wife, because it's Sunday night dinner. Which, of course, then is the whole funny, going to see your wife. But the same way Micro came through, I think it was last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, with the car incident, he does here too. He not only gets Frank out, but he gets Gunner taken care of. And that's really cool of him. In fact, who do you think is the more heroic? Frank or Micro? Not that there's a right or wrong answer, but I think it'll be interesting either way. Then that leads into episode 6, Judas Go. Alright, so Frank is down and out and is pretty much dying, and we have to call in his buddy in order to let him live. And Micro, like I said, comes through here. The whole analogy of the goat that just lived through too much because he was constantly being used and tortured because of the fact that you needed to train people how to first aid and triage wounds. I'm not 100% sure. Is, in that scenario, the GOAT every Marine? Or is this very specifically Frank and what he's going through now? Death by a million cuts. I could probably see the analogy either way. But at the end of the episode, we have that question put aside by the fact that we, of course, have everything going on, and we finally get the answer I've been looking for. Well, not the real answer, which is when are we going to see the battle wagon? No, the question we get is who's really the bad guy. And since we have his old friend here, sitting with Agent Orange, where I have to worry about shades of gray with everyone else, Agent Orange is not one. He is a bad guy, and he is breaking the law, breaking the rules, and doing everything he can. But at the end of the day, even he thinks he's the good guy, he thinks he's doing what's right, and I have to wonder if the other Marine does too. I mean, does he think that Agent Orange is the good guy? Does he see himself as the good guy? That's one of those questions that makes for a good villain, though. But we don't see him. They are not just number pushers. They are not just Marines following orders. And they are not just members of Homeland Security doing their job. So, when they get gunned down, I won't feel bad at all. Except for the fact that Madani was sleeping with him last episode. Is she gonna come down on Frank's side or on his side? Gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. But I want to know what you thought of this episode, too. And do you think that the shades of gray apply for Agent Orange as well? Let me know that as we move into episode 7, Crosshairs. 7 episodes in, and I have to say this is different than the other Netflix series MCU has put out. In both Alias and Daredevil, and even to a certain extent Iron Fist, I was kind of bored at this point, or parts of the story would fall apart, and there were parts that seemed like they were just filler episodes. Luke Cage took a little longer to get there, but they all did eventually. Even the episode where Punisher was down and out because of the arrow being in him, it didn't feel like filler. This felt like it has maintained its pacing and its capabilities all the way through. Yes, I realize we're only just past the halfway point, so there's still time for it to go downhill. But I mean, we have a new villain. We have someone who has killed someone, so Frank can go after him without remorse. We have the whole thing going on with Karen, and of course we have the whole overall arcing plot, and the fact that, Frank might be hot for Micro's wife. But all of that makes sense within the story. But then episode 7 starts with such great symbolism. Washing blood off your hands. And sometimes there's so much blood on there, it seems like it will never come off. And sometimes it's the blood of the righteous, and sometimes it's the blood of some asshole, and sometimes it's the blood of someone you were told to kill, and sometimes it's the blood of someone that you just got so furious with that you beat them to death. or sometimes it's metaphysical blood. I mean, I'm not going to say I killed anyone. Okay, to be honest, this episode is entirely about two brilliant plans. The first plan is to use the Major as bait, the second plan is to use the Major as bait, and, well, what happens when Blackbird and Raven end up going up against each other. Now again, strangers become brothers in a foxhole, but also you get to know each other. I'm surprised, once he started going after him, Frank didn't realize who he was fighting. I mean, not like the martial arts genre thing where, oh, I fought you once, I know. But I mean, like, seriously, moves, body structure, it's not just fighting another Marine, it's fighting the guy you fought next to this whole time. I don't know. They did also finally address the elephant in the room. The idea of what you do when you come across a guard who's just doing his job. I have to say, I find it funny that Frank didn't want to shoot these guys when he was willing to shoot other people. It just is, selective. Like, they want to make him still be the good guy, but at the same time, walk that line where you're like, hey, he does these dark things. Remember, this is the same guy that tortured Micro, and that torture really doesn't work that well. But, then again, we then have our favorite villain stab the Major and kill the S&M chick that was the one that they had watching him, just to make sure that when he finally gets attacked, although I don't suspect he's going to get killed, I'm starting to think that he's Jigsaw. I'll get back to that, though. When him and Frank fight, there's not going to be any question of who the good guy and the bad guy is. But the meaning of the title is pretty simple. The end of the episode, he has Agent Orange in his cross sights. And it's the exact same way we've seen him take up sniper positions before. Penny and a dime. Bang. Dead to rights. But nothing. It's kind of funny, the way everyone looked so shocked, and even I was shocked. I'm like, that's right, there's such a thing as bulletproof, well, technically bullet-resistant glass. And Frank hit it. And bang. It shatters, but the bullet does not go through. Now, early in the episode, we also had our favorite Homeland Security agent, Madani, find out that her office is bugged. And part of me wonders if that clue wasn't given to her with, relax, no one's listening. And if so, I wonder if that was on purpose or by accident. Punisher is an acquired taste in comic books. And I have to say that it's one that I only read sometimes. It's not a regular. I really liked Welcome Back, Frank. A friend of mine has that in trade. I really disliked a lot of other stories. I really liked him crossing over with Venom way back in the 90s. And part of this, I still think, has some issue with the grayism, and by changing the story to the government instead of the mob. But what do you think? Overall, I'm enjoying the series. I love what Netflix has done. But what about you? And of course, we've gotten to the point where I need to ask you to like and share, and then, of course, click that subscribe button. I've just recently hit over 10,000 views, which means I'm able to monetize my videos. But I'm sure that when you watch this, there's no commercial. You know why? Not because I'm like, oh no, don't monetize this, but because for some reason the YouTube algorithm picks out Punisher as too violent. I can't imagine what makes them think the series is violent, can you? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, just figured I'd point that out, because I find it kind of funny. But thank you for walking with me through the heart of the stories we tell.